Welcome back to the GSL Code S. We just had a really cool turn versus Protoss. Ryung completely outmaneuvering Deer, forcing Deer to follow the rules that Ryung is dictating in that best of 3.
Yeah, 2 strategic victories right in a row from Deer with builds that you basically never see, but...
At least not in televised matches.
Yeah.
You could encounter it on the ladder, but you can encounter a lot of weird stuff on the ladder that can beat you if you just haven't experienced it before, but... completely throwing Deer off.
Yeah, they're so outside of the actual top pro meta, both of these builds that he did, that Deer was just not prepared. Like,
no.
You know, metagame plays such a big part in StarCraft overall, and Ryung just threw such a wrench into it that if he has to play Deer or Billowy tonight again, they're not even going to know what to think.
Well, it's funny because, yeah, exactly. There's not a lot you can read from that and then be like, oh, I'm ready for the next game against Ryung. No, you're not.
Like, let's say...
normally he plays really standard.
Yeah.
So that was a smart move. I mean, he's looking primed to get out of the round of 32 for sure.
It's going to be really funny if he gets another Protoss tonight. I actually kind of hope for it. But first up, we have Billowy going against ByuL. And, of course, this is a super underdog against one of the greatest players in the world. But Billowy is really, really, really good, guys. You're going to have to trust me on this. We only saw him in GSL Code S once before, and he barely lost to, I believe it was SOS at the end. Like, SOS just like snuck DTs in all the right places. And Billowy was playing a 6 series, though. Like, he did a great job that night. It looked like he might get out. He's been doing well in the online cups, like Olimo League and stuff. Really goes like even with all the top pros. Like he's a great macro Protoss, to be honest.
Yeah. I think Billowy is a great player. This is going to be a real test for him, though. This is not an easy group. He's got 3 very good players, all very different in their skill sets and accomplishments. ByuL, I feel like ByuL is one of those tragic figures of StarCraft 2.
He is.
He really is. He's somebody who has really wanted to achieve a certain goal, kind of like Sue is.
Yeah.
Where, you know, we all know he's good. We all respect his skill. He's been very open about how ambitious his goals have been and how much he desires to be the best in the world. And he's just barely not hitting that mark over and over again. Certainly, he is not going to let Billowy stand in his way. Billowy is, I don't like to use the word rookie, but you know, he is the guy, as far as Code S presence, the least dominant.
You could call him a rookie.
Okay, he's a rookie. Yeah.
Really object to that too much. $3,417 match.
In the bottom left, he is
Billowy.
Let's keep the shot on him a little bit longer here. In the upper right, in the red, our Zerg player.
Yo.
So we are calling Billowy our rookie.
We could
tonight.
call him a rookie. It's only his second Code S. Like, he's been technically around. Like, we've known who he is for quite some time, but like he's never done anything really. Like, occasionally Code A, just recently a Code S, and here's another one for him. He plays a lot of online stuff. He's a super good Protoss. He's like one of the guys that I think you really have to watch as one of these future badasses, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah, like in 1 or 2 years, like he could be super dominant.
Yeah, like I think you're completely right. In the next couple of years, I think we'll see Billowy join the ranks of people like Stats, Zest, Deer, you know, that Hero, like that kind of area where it's like, well, these are the best Protosses, you know?
We're going to see how he does here. It's going to be like that scene in Metal Gear Solid. You left the safety on, rookie. Yeah, let's see what he can do. ByuL is somebody who has proven that he is a very well-rounded Zerg, but I think most importantly is very dominant in late game when it gets to that point, which is usually the scariest kind of Zergs to face off against, are ones where the longer the game goes, the better position they're in.
Yeah.
Since Zerg is a race, that is reacting a lot throughout the entire game. Usually Zerg is trying, if their Zerg is not rushing right away, they're basically just trying to get a proper read and trying to tech and expand around whatever the other race is doing. And if you get somebody like Dark, for instance, once they get far enough along, they're unbeatable.
Yeah, like
and ByuL, I feel like it's just a few steps behind Dark.
Okay, so what I think regarding that, like, Dark is right there mechanically as well. Like, I look at top Korean mechanical Zergs, and it's like SOS, Dark, and ByuL all come to mind. But I don't think that ByuL is worse mechanically than anyone. But maybe, like, he's a different player. Like, strategically, I think that no one can beat Dark's brain. Like, this guy will figure out these crazy situations and use, like, something no one else is using to win a game. Whereas ByuL is like, you can assume that ByuL will try to make mutas right, in a game. Yeah. Like, he will try to get to mutas. He will macro basically perfectly. He will have as many Lings and Banes as you can imagine, you know. And I think that's why he's so scary, because he is mechanically, like, second to none.
Yeah, I think you're completely spot on with that analysis. By the way, I'm really curious, just talking about our previous best of 3, what the other two players that are in this game right now are thinking about Ryan.
Oh, God,
you know?
Well, I think that
it might be
probably if I was Billowy, I would be like, I need to stop watching this. This is going to get me scared before I play ByuL. Like, that doesn't make sense. It's like, I don't want to have to think about these builds no one does. Like, I'm ready to fight with Adept Phoenix versus normal stuff.
And at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to lose to Ghosts on TV.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, so this was a Nexus first, of course, going into Glaives, has some Adept pressure going on. How does ByuL want to counter this? He's getting a full scout of what's occurring, sees the timing of all this different stuff.
Yeah.
Does he stay on, like, Ling Bane, or is he going to go into the Roach Warren? This is one of the most important choices you see Zergs make, and sometimes if you try to do this without a Roach Warren, like, a lot of Zergs will just, like, lose too many drones. It's like, okay, well, like, you know, you didn't do it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Your defense wasn't good enough. That's it.
It's pretty clear to me that Billowy is definitely comfortable going into, like, a much more macro-oriented game. He's definitely teching past Adepts. Here he's getting a Robo Bay. He's getting a Templar Archives.
Yeah. And look at that. You never see a 2-base Templar Archives.
Yeah.
This is, like, unheard of.
That was the one thing that caught me off guard a little bit about the build, is that we obviously, the longer the game goes on, you eventually want to try to get as many of the tech structures that Protoss has out here, but either the rhythm's off or he's got something timing-wise that he wants to do. We see a Warp Prisms coming out here, and he's getting 2 Templars. Is he just going to go into...
this could just be... Okay, so DT-based Archons cost way more.
Exactly. No, that's what I was thinking. Is like, to get DTs is... It's cheaper on your gas, right?
Yes.
And Archon Harass is obviously something we've seen a lot of, but the fact that he's doing this with Templars is curious. Maybe he wants to try to get a Storm out later on and not have to get the multi-layered tech.
Yeah. I think you nailed it there.
But well, let's see. I don't want to go too deep on this, but yeah, let's see if he gets a Storm upgrade. Well, and that would explain it.
I think he will end up getting the Storm upgrade because Billowy pretty well knows it. Some of these comps that Zerg go for, if you do not have splash damage, you're going to have a hard time actually defeating them. And if you're not rushing into the drop, right, you can, like, this was Glaives into an Archon drop, which means that you don't necessarily want to have that Dark Shrine. Like, they're going to be 100% ready for the Dark Templar. The DTs themselves won't do anything with their cloak until late game. So I like this. This is a very different change that Billowy has added in.
It almost seems to me like the Archon Harass is just is not the primary goal of this, but instead something that you can get along the way, so you might as well. As you can see here, if you can juggle Archons in and out of a Warp Prism, you're shaving off so many Zerglings. Yeah. And if you can get drones, that's great too. But you're shaving off so many Zerglings, and you're not going to lose the Archons. Their shields are going to regen reasonably fast. And there's just, it's one of these situations where the Zerg is just going to have to take it. And looky here, Artie, Storm.
Yes, Storm on the way. When Zerg stays on just Ling Bane and you're, like, harassing with Archons and Adepts, it tells you pretty quickly that they're probably trying to go up into Baneling Hydra. And if you don't have Storm for that, it can be very hard to hold on against. So this is like, Billowy is going to be absolutely ready when this attack moves out from ByuL.
Okay, the Lings have come in here and surrounded these Adepts. The Harass is actually going pretty well. He just needs to keep the Warp Prism alive. It's bruised enough that, my God.
Down it goes.
Well, The problem here is that cleaning up the Archons, that's a lot of gas loss there for the Protoss. He got 3 drones. He killed off some Zerglings, but Zerglings are literally the most expendable unit in the game.
Yeah.
You're pretty much, if you're fending anything off, you're probably trading efficiently. I guess the only exception would be like a TVZ where you see people like Innovation drop and shave off Lings like 5 times in a row.
Yeah.
And not lose any Marines and then attack in. But so that was a bit of a hiccup there. I think it would have been much better if he could keep that alive.
Yeah.
Kind of a badly placed sentry there. And he's warping in on the outside. Okay.
Whatever.
Well, I guess if it's a Zealots,
whatever makes it work.
Not as bad. Yeah.
Looks like a Baneling drop kind of ready. He does have that Overlord speed, of course. A Spire is on the way. And this can definitely mess up these kind of ground pounder armies that you see. You know, it's like Psy Storm and Immortals and Charge Lots don't do so well defending against mutas. So, if he, like, mixing in these mutas is like this cool thing a lot of Korean Zergs do where it can force you into something like... first off, it'll kill some probes. It'll force some cannons, probably. But if it forces you into Blink Stalkers, then suddenly, like, Massling Bane does a lot better because you're just not buying, like, anti-Ling Bane tools, basically, like Archons and stuff. So, kind of cool tech route here out of ByuL. I do like how he's playing this. Like, I'm a big fan, though, of how quick this Storm is. Having Storm this quickly, like, Baneling Hydra, once you actually have a decent amount of Psy Storm, doesn't do so well.
No, certainly not. As long as you can cast down the storms in the right locations, even if the Zerg's trying to outmaneuver it, they're going to take so much damage that a lot of times the Protoss' army can just clean it up afterwards. But getting the mutas up here, let's see if we can't get some good pickoffs and force the Protoss into a much more defensive posture. Billowy appears to be setting up to rely on Zealots to try to hit the hatchery. And really keep the Zerg honest on the ground. And if you can take out a few hatches while you're expanding on your 4th base, you're going to be in pretty good shape. Even though the Zealots are basically suiciding in to these bases, in this case, the Zealots are, for the Protoss, the most expendable unit on their side as well. The Zealots, in this phase of the game, basically have 2 functions. They're there to sponge up damage in big fights. At times, like for instance the Zerglings coming in there or to connect with Banelings as long as they don't connect too perfectly, and then also to go in there and kill off hatcheries and drones.
And that group of Zealots, he's actually leaving there for a very long time. The mutas actually might find them. Okay, that's a really good find by ByuL. Look at his army immediately moving down here. He wants to make sure he can save this 5th base. Very important for him to do so. It just finishes now. Billowy might have been a little bit greedy trying to wait to kill it instead of just canceling it. Yeah,
this is going to be cleaned up pretty easily here. Which is actually a pretty big loss. Even though I was saying those units are expendable, you need to be trading them into something. So kind of a blow there for Billowy. And now ByuL's mutas are going to try to fly through here. It does appear, though, that Billowy is basically prepared for any muta harass.
He has a decent group of stalkers out here trying to hold those mutas back. Doesn't mean that the mutas are worthless. They did force a good amount of stalkers, some extra cannons. It makes... Billowy kind of think about this, and in fact, he just got a Stargate, but he's actually going for an Oracle.
Now, this is cool. The Oracle is mostly going to be used later on to try to tag the Zerg's army and try to monitor it.
I think he might be afraid of Lurkers incoming. Lurkers are really popular on this map because they can choke everything up, so the best detection you can get against Lurkers, it's not really the Observer. You really want to be able to tag them and just make sure that you get to see them the whole time. Because if you lose an Observer while you're trying to clear Lurkers, your whole army dies.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's not hard for the Zerg to pick off the Observer with mutas or Hydras. And so I think that's a smart move here. Kind of the opposite of the Terran vs. Protoss we had, where the Oracle is actually much more of a proper... it's not a Band-Aid solution for the Lurkers. It's actually how you stop them. Yeah. Because the Lurkers are bunched up like that.
Now, it looks like ByuL cancels the 5th base there of Billowy, but rather ByuL is going into Broodlord tech very clearly, and Billowy switching into carriers. Yeah.
Cool. We're going into the super late game here. By the way, both these guys don't seem to be taking any real fatal blows from the harass here. And this is a point in time in a game like this where, oh, look at that. The Zealot just wasn't quite fat enough. This is a point in time where, it requires a greater level of tech to dismantle your opponent.
Now, Adrenal Gland's on the way. He's getting the Greater Spire, kind of turtling everything up. Great creep spread. They both are getting huge economies and kind of everything that they want. But the carrier tech, it's funny because, like, if the game gets turtled up at all in this map, it is really good to switch into carriers and try to get that kind of, like... Because, I mean, when you're in this spot, how does Zerg hurt you? As you said, the harassments they're doing each other aren't doing very much. So you have this huge economy. You can go into carriers, but is he going to have enough carriers out quickly enough to remove the Broodlords quickly enough that he can protect his ground army?
Yeah, the carriers are never a good unit where you can get one of. For instance, like if you have, like, let's say, like 1 or 2 Archons, it's like, oh, okay, you can do a lot of damage with this. But, like, with carriers, you have to get a very large number, and that does allow the other player to get some time to try to, like, hammer together a solution. Also important to note, if we could kind of zoom out of this game for a minute and look at the broader picture for the utility of carriers here, eventually there's only going to be 2 bases that are not taken on this map. It's going to be the top center and the bottom center. And when you have carriers, which are clunky units, they don't move that fast on the map, you can poke into those bases and really abuse the Zerg, and there's a lot of area that's air only. So Zerg can only address the carriers with air. They can't really try to counter it with the ground. And that can be something that's really advantageous just based off of the geography of the map. That's something that you can do and really punish them.
Now, this is really weird. Neural on the way. You don't see that too often. It can be very good against these capital ships.
Did Inertio
really
warg into this Zerg's body?
Right? For real. But this is a decent amount of Broodlords, and I believe there's 3 carriers out. Now, in this case, in particular, 3 Tempests would actually be more useful, because 3 carriers won't actually kill these that quickly. You can kill off the interceptors and stuff, whereas 2 volleys from 3 Tempests kills a Broodlord. So the Broodlords are going to get some damage done on this army.
Okay, the interceptors are coming out here. Now, there are Hydras underneath this, so I'm not sure that what the right...
Oh, well,
hold on.
I guess you can just storm them
so
if they don't move.
So if you don't move these, they're not very good, guys. You can move those. Oh, here goes the transfuses. He's like, watch this, Artosis.
Takes a while to get those down, so it's still 4 Broodlords left over. More carriers on the way. The carrier number is going to reach an outstanding level, but a lot of Corruptors are being added in right now by ByuL.
I feel like ByuL might have a little bit more momentum here in responsiveness. But let's see. Protoss is actually being pretty ambitious. He's going to try to poke in here. Now, if he can just get up in front of these Broodlords, then he's going to kill him. Transfuses are going down. It's only 3 Broodlords, which is not a number that's specifically that terrifying for the Protoss to deal with. In fact, Billowy is just going to push right through here. Now only 2 Broodlords, soon to be 0.
Wow, these Archons doing so much damage to the Corruptors. The Corruptors are going to be able to take out the entire air army, but will he have enough to clean everything else? He's maxing out basically on Lings, which should be good enough to clear this army. So this is a very good moment for ByuL, I think.
Yeah, we don't see much else warping in here for Protoss. It's just a carrier right now.
Yeah, this is... like, Billowy might just be able to kill ByuL, but there are a lot of Lings and Banes on the way. So if he can just clear this ground army once, it's pretty good. But down goes a base. The momentum might just be enough.
Yeah, and also the response here from Protoss is one of high damage output with an answer to any kind of high-tech counter. He's getting a few Tempests, but then he's just making Zealots and Archons. And that's the easiest way to get a strong army, like, right away.
Yes.
You spend all your gas on the Archons and all your minerals on the Zealots, and they assemble quickly. It's not like if you have Immortals and Sentries and Stalkers and Colossi. You get the picture. That's something that takes a while to assemble. This is like a quick hammer-together solution that allows you to push into the other player's base right away.
And super important that he's switching into Tempest as well. He really just needs to eliminate Broodlords. Those are the key units right now in ByuL's army. So he's going to be able to easily two-shot them at this point. It's going to be a lot harder to keep on top of keeping those Broodlords alive. A couple carriers still in the army. I mean, a carrier's never bad in the Protoss army. It puts out a lot of damage, but yeah, I really like the way Billowy is kind of backed up. He didn't overextend. He didn't lose absolutely every unit that he had there, and that is so important right now.
So, big picture here. The Zerg has lost that center base and needs to reclaim that, even though it's not that mineral rich, because this is a game where it looks like it's going to go on for a little while here.
Yeah.
And if Protoss could just continue to poke in and stamp out those bases, well, that base there and then the top and the bottom, that haven't really been factored in yet, but they will. It's an inevitability, excuse me, that they will be taken there. Billowy is looking very good this game, and now getting a mothership.
Yeah, he's getting every single tool he needs, and his army is just like he's hitting this amazing composition. And while ByuL's isn't too bad, his economy is not chugging away as much as he'd like. Like, having lost that fourth base is very painful. It's still a good army, but there's just kind of enough Psystorm and Archons to cover these flying units. So you can't really eliminate the Tempest.
Yeah.
Or there's a couple carries in there and a Mothership going to be joining in as well. I guess he is making enough Infestors and Vipers that there is a chance he can like knurl things and yank things in and kill them off.
Yeah, this is going to be kind of a crazy late game that we have here. Protoss is basically filling out every complex unit that you have. So he went from that Archon Zealot high damage output to push in, and then has reverted back into like a very conservative, very scary, complex late game army. This is kind of cute. The Corruptors are kind of flying through. Basically, the Corruptors there are just seeing if they can catch anything that would be rallying from the Stargate and get a free kill.
It's a great thing to do with those Corruptors. They get away so fast. You can't really punish it as Protoss. Look at this flying in once again. He knows where the Stargates are.
See,
hey!
that's what he's doing.
Free Void Ray.
Yeah.
We're almost... Yeah, there it is. It's about as free as it gets.
So he's actually moving the rally point to the very far left corner and then zigzagging that up to the main army, which is pretty cute.
Look at the upgrades, by the way. Like, he's getting 2-2 on his air units right now for ByuL. So that's... You don't see that too often, the double Spire upgrading. Kind of works out this game. Quite a few Infestors. He just got Burrow as well, so he can put those underground. I'm super excited to see this next battle because knurls are going to be going off.
Yeah. What do you think is the key thing he wants to knurl here? Does it just anything that's high-tech, that's expensive? Like, does he want to just, like, try to get some of these complex air units that Protoss is getting, or is it...
I mean, Mothership is always a good knurl. You can, like, throw down time warps and stuff and mess up with them like that. It also uncloaks everything that they have. I'm actually kind of looking towards... Obviously, if you can pick off things that are going to kill Broodlords, then you're going to slaughter their ground army. But even the Archons are actually going to be what's stopping the damage of the Corruptors, because the Corruptors will clump as they go forward, so, like...
Yeah, just to expound on what you're saying, Artos, it's like the Archons actually counter the Corruptors, which probably sounds weird since they seem like two units that wouldn't necessarily be engaging each other.
Yeah.
But as you can see, the Corruptors clump up. See how close together they are? A few Archon hits and that all dies. And then you're not going to be having a good time.
Look at these two last bases of the map, both players trying to take.
So this is the dilemma of this matchup on this map in this phase of the game, is that the top base and bottom base are not comfortable for either player to occupy, but they are basically forced into trying to fight over them because this game's gone on for so long.
Zerg, this base looks like it will be canceled as well.
Look at this drone.
So
this is how it ends. Oh my God, he lived. Oh my God.
Crazy.
He lived.
Second probes now.
That drone is getting a new lease on life.
He's going to become a hatchery again, Tasis.
He became a hatchery again.
How many times
he was under attack by interceptors, Archons. It was all cloaked. Scariest shit this probe has ever seen.
Yeah.
Or this drone has ever seen, excuse me. And now he's going to go back. He gets to be a hatchery again. He's got a new lease.
Well, I think he's going to be taken out again, to be honest. Like, these bases never stay alive for very long.
Don't tell that to him, man. This guy's a fighter. He could have gone back and become an extractor somewhere else, but no.
Like, listen, just go make me a new spawning pool in the back in case you get dropped. Put me at your third base. That's like, game's over if you get that far.
All right. Hashtag pray for this hatchery, guys.
By the way,
this guy's going to be the real hero. If this game is won, there's going to be statues of this drone all over the Zerg's.
Kerrigan's going to have him killed just to,
Yeah.
He might take over the whole swarm. Who knows?
Kerrigan is going to marry this drone, or this hatchery now.
Marry a hatchery.
Yeah. It's a living thing.
I guess you're actually right about that.
It is, yeah.
Now,
hatcheries can feel, Artosis. Let's not forget that.
They have. What would a hatchery feel aside from pain? Because the only thing I see it do is bleed.
That's true. So, on a serious note here, Protoss has managed to claim the top as Zerg scrambled to claim the bottom. So now we have no more bases that can be taken on the map.
These comps, too, are getting a little bit more complex. Like, for instance, the Immortals are worthless now. You actually want the Immortals to go away. It's becoming super, super air-centric, so Archons are still very good. High Templars are of the utmost importance.
Yeah.
He really needs some Oracles in here. I don't know how many Oracles he has right now, but if he does not see everything, then things can go wrong. Okay, see, that's exactly what he needs to do, stuff like that. where he can see things from far away, start to pelt it. If anything like burrow movement, infestors are coming in, you need to know about that because they can ruin your day very quickly.
Now, occasionally, this game will... Oh, look at that. Harpooning the Tempest.
Yeah.
Very nicely done.
Harpoon.
Occasionally, this game can revert back into ground action after the big fight occurs. Right now, we have Protoss pushing in here. Oh, man.
That's a good size storm.
I got to say that ByuL has not been fantastic about moving out of storms.
No.
As we're seeing here, he just kind of...
He just chills in the storms.
There's something else he's apparently doing with his actions per minute that is not
moving
splitting. I mean, I don't mean to be too critical, but it does seem like he could just fan those out a little bit. Obviously, there's a lot going on in this game here. Oh! Recalled back.
Did you see that funny? Oh my God, that was like, yeah, there was like a graphical glitch where it jumped as the abduct was hitting, and then you saw the abduct go to the left, but it didn't pull.
Yeah, that was funny. I did not see that, but sorry I missed that.
But anyways, that was like a pretty nice neural. Got to kill a unit off there. He's got this nice line of spores. So again, it's becoming super air-centric. But look at this. There's 5 immortals right now. That is a lot of wasted supply. That is 20 supply that he doesn't have in units that could counter this army better.
And in case you guys are confused when Artosis says that, because the Immortal's pretty strong through most of the game. At this phase, with this tech, which we don't normally see, we basically never see early on in a ZVP, the Immortals have no equity in a part of the game that's this late on.
You literally want to spend them one way or another. You can kill them yourself, but Immortals are pretty powerful. So some of my favorite things that I've seen in the past, like years ago, I loved it. As Broodlord tech started to take over, Grubby used to actually just get a Prism and just throw the Immortals in the main and right-click on buildings. And just be like, all right, there you go. It's like a steam tank now. Kill some buildings, do what you can, Immortal, but you are out of here. It's a waste of supply at this point. Yes, we see, for instance, there is Ultralisk tech. He's making an Ultralisk right now, which is not necessarily bad from Zerg, because you want to be able to wipe out High Templars. So having stuff on the ground can still be useful. It does a few other roles as well, but
by the way,
like draw Archon hits. Anyways, the Immortals I really want to see him think about getting rid of those.
And in fact, the Zealots, it's the same story.
Yeah.
So this kind of highlights what you were talking about here. Same ideas. And Zealots at this phase of the game, it's kind of hard to use them in your actual main army. So he's just running up here and trying to click on buildings and do anything. So this is quite a cool twist from our first series. This is like we're in game 25-minute marker. Somebody's going to have to do something dramatic pretty soon here, or both these guys are going to mine out the map. In fact, I believe Protoss is almost entirely mined out, and the same is true for the Zerg. The only mining bases that are of real impact here is a top base in the center and the bottom base in the center. So the other thing to note along with that is that Protoss has about 3.5k minerals and about 800 gas. So that means that if they have a big fight and let's say that their supplies all get greatly reduced, it seems like the Protoss can at least remake something, whereas the Zerg can't really do that much at all. Yeah,
and on top of that, I think it makes it a little bit tougher. I think at this point in the game, when they both have armies like this, it's a little bit Protoss favored. Like, Psy Storm and Feedback are so good here, but look at that. Chain Fungals on these High Templars. This is a great move from ByuL. He is going to kill all those off. Beautifully done.
Okay. The Void Ray is coming up right now, and it gets taken out. That was my sick play-by-play there. Really, Protoss. Okay, here's the problem for the Protoss right now, and I think you're right, Artos. I think Protoss gets probably somewhat of advantage in this specific position.
Yeah. So far, I haven't seen a Zerg that.
Oh my God!
Oh, that was a.
What just happened? It just
he knurled it, and he had already hit recall, and then Neural hit it.
Yeah.
But I guess it's still recall.
Yeah, that was the weirdest thing ever. It almost looked like a glitch. Excuse me. The problem for Protoss is that Protoss cannot really attack the bottom base without essentially giving up the top base.
That's true.
So Protoss is actually trying to drift, possibly into threatening the main and the tech up there. That was so weird looking with that mothership.
Over time, though, like. I do think that Protoss is more cost efficient in these situations unless the Vipers and Infestors get like insane value going on. But as a Protoss player, you should not really allow that to occur. And that's part of the reason why you want Oracles, really to see everything incoming. You use your feedbacks and stuff. So this is more on ByuL, in my opinion. If I'm Billowy, I will take all the time in the universe to kill you because, like, Psy Storm plus the range of Tempest and the damage output of carriers and like just oracles making sure you see everything, it's a nightmare for Zerg to actually attack into this.
By the way, he just killed the Hive.
Oh, yeah.
That's actually, that can end up being a big
No
deal
more
later on.
Vipers.
Yeah, no more Vipers. And if he takes out a few more tech structures, I'm assuming that Zerg should have the majority of his tech now hugging the bottom right side of the map here. But taking out the Hive is actually like not bad at all.
No.
It's something that forces Zerg.
You're very right.
Keep in mind that they're running out of money rapidly on this map. Like this map is going to be an economic desert in a little bit here. And that means that forcing him to like remake any of his tech, remake hatcheries, anything, Zerg's spending money that's not going to be input into his larger, bigger army later on.
The incomes have really slowed to a trickle as well. Like ByuL is basically fully mining from that one remaining base. Billowy, I guess, has like a few more patches right now, but everything is going to cap out. They're almost out of money on this map, which means that ByuL is going to have to just fight with what he has. And Billowy has like a little bit more money. This is why we keep seeing Zealots go in. You know, he has all these extra minerals. What really matters at this point for Protoss is how much gas he has. He has
That's
to
correct.
spend this just right. And looking at this army count, let me take a look. 8 High Templars, that's really good. His army is very good still. Like, even at this point, I wouldn't waste the Immortals now. I would have changed those out earlier, but, you know. Ooh.
Now, keep in mind, he killed the Hive, so getting the Greater Spire is actually a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
What is this one Ultraless solution? This is the problem for Zerg, is that so much of his income is invested on air.
Yeah. Look at that brute who's blocking that Zealot.
Okay, so he gets a Spire.
Yeah.
Yeah, occasionally, if we have a huge fight, sometimes the Protoss, if they diminish enough of what the Zerg had, well, that's hard on my eyes. Look at that. If he takes out enough of what the Zerg has, he can just make Zealots and Stalkers sometimes to come back. Oh, good pick.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. If you clear enough of their Hive Tech, like enough Broodlords, and then they have Corruptors floating around, well, he doesn't even have a Greater Spire anymore, so, like, that would be the case, right? If you kill all those Broodlords, you can actually just go ground units and kill them.
Yeah.
It's a very good point. You don't see that too often.
No, it might not happen in this game, but it's just something to factor in as we might go back to the basics to close out one of the most complicated games we'll be probably casting here in the round of 32.
Yeah, this is getting funny. Like, I wonder if ByuL, it looks to me like he's going to make one turtle base, let everything else die, and just see if Billowy can break him. Like, we're going
back to Warcraft 3 and Happy's playing here.
He was selling all of his
buildings.
He's selling them for Zealots, basically.
Yeah.
Ooh, trying to get something done with this with these infestors in the front. See, this is exactly how you do it. He's just tagging continuously. You want to actually be grabbing these oracles as they come in. So ByuL is, I don't want to say slow because you never know when they're going to come in. You can't just stare at your army the whole time. But if you can do things like grab oracles as they come in, that's a nice move because they have to keep tagging. If they don't, suddenly infestors. Oh, look at that! 1 million fungals. That's where ByuL could win.
This game is really a testament to the fact that ByuL was not able to punish Billowy in any real way here.
Yeah.
And eventually, it got to this part of the map, and it's kind of like it's ByuL's Alamo here.
Yes.
Like, he just has to hold out this bottom base, and you can see Protoss is very gradually pushing in here. Kind of a funny angle because
Ooh, very nice. Good move. He actually kills off his own High Templar. That's a great neural right there.
Now,
type of move.
Let's not forget, guys, this hatchery at the bottom was that drone that had 5 HP. Okay, let's not.
Oh my God! You foretold this.
Yeah, I know. This is the hero drone. Okay, so I'm just saying that they'll be singing songs about this drone 100 years from now.
If he wins this, absolutely.
Even if he dies here, I'd say. But if he wins this, then he's immortal.
Dronimo.
It's Dronimo. Oh my God.
Oops.
So it seems like Protoss is playing like a really conservative game. And by the way, I actually really respect this because there's
the only way for him to lose is to rush into that.
Yeah, is to move into that and then just die. So
ByuL has made his declaration that he's sitting there.
Yeah.
ByuL at this point would be happy with a draw. I'm going to say that he would be happy with a draw if everything gets mined out, and Billowy sits back. ByuL will sit back and take that draw and play this map again.
Yeah.
Because, like, to kill this Protoss army, who?
Okay, well, your death was not in vain.
This is where I try to get every game taste. This is exactly where Billowy's at, man. This is how all my Zerg wins
the most ambitious move ever with an Oracle. Okay, so he's just starting to chip away at this. And as you can see here, there's not...
Look how careful this is. He has the spread High Templars and an Observer in the front. He's ready to feedback anything that comes up.
So formation is key here. Yeah. Every position of every Protoss unit is, like, so important.
It really is. Everything that kills Corruptors is right behind these Tempests in case this all comes... Like, if suddenly he rushes in, the Tempests get pulled back slightly, Void Rays get turned on, and all the Corruptors die.
I also want to point out that each of these Spores was also a drone, but not that drone that was the hatchery at that base. They are all here just to die for this one drone to stay alive.
This was a cool move, what we just saw. He fungled, hoping there were going to be enough High Templars under there, and then did a volley with the Broodlords. If the High Templars happened to be in the front there and he caught them with fungals, they were revealed and then they all die. But I don't think he got that many of them.
Yeah, I actually didn't
quite
didn't
get too many.
Did ByuL mine out the bottom?
Yeah, everything's mined.
No, because top base for Protoss is not yet finished. I think there's like a few patches.
There's like a couple patches, but the income is super slow.
I wonder... No, never mind. I was going to say maybe Zerg should try to poke into the main, but it's like, no.
Yeah, like he could poke with a Broodlord or something, I guess.
Zerg's going for a draw.
Yeah. Or Billowy's screwing up.
Yeah.
Both those are good.
Zerg's going for a draw, and hoping that maybe Billowy can get fished in and not have like the right engage. The gas count is important in this game, but it should be noted that neither of them have a lot of gas. And they're not getting a lot of gas coming in. So this could be a game where we have a giant fight, and then it does come down to the Protoss making Zealots and a handful of Stalkers. But let's see.
Yeah, he just needs to keep enough Broodlords alive that it doesn't make sense to go air. To go ground to try to prevent that. But killing this air army, he has to almost do entirely with spells now. He just doesn't really have enough. Okay, that's great. That's very nice. Wants to kill that off.
One of us.
Just pulls it back.
He needs to kill. All right, well, I guess it's going to die no matter what.
Yeah, as soon as it pops off. I wouldn't even want to. I'd be so careful right now. Like if he misclicks, because you have to do attack and click. So if he misclicks, he kills something of his own.
Okay. Tempest slowly pushing through.
God. Look at those High Templars in the front just preventing anything from occurring, and these great tags. Like, Billowy knows exactly what to do here. This is so fearsome for the Zerg to deal with.
Well, I mean, Billowy's basically handling this perfectly.
Yeah.
Okay, I think ByuL's just going to go for it. He knows that this is not going to last that much longer. It's all going to come down to this one big fight. A lot of neural parasites coming down here.
Yeah.
Storm's blanking those Broodlords, but the Broodlords are not done yet.
God, those were great Neurals indeed, and a good split as well. The Broodlord's clearing out just about everything on the ground, but not quite.
There's a lot of Queens here and a lot of Spores. Not all of them are connecting. Oh, that was actually a great fungal there. I'm not even clear on where that Infestor is. Okay, it's actually just below these Broodlords.
Oh, another Observer flies in and actually dies off here. He is switching into, well, not switching into Zealots, but he has a lot of minerals, so makes those. And the Tempest just targeting down these Broods, so that's
there it is. GG. Billowy wins game number 1.
Crazy game, over 35 minutes.
Yeah. It's probably going to be our longest game tonight.
I would imagine.
It's hard to top that.
Yeah, this can happen on Daybreak because once you have that 4th base truly secured with high-tech units, it's so hard to break. And you can see also, like, Billowy's switching into air. He did it at like a good time. If he had gone directly into Tempest instead of Carriers, I think the game actually ends a lot earlier and he just wins.
Yeah.
But I think he wasn't truly aware of ByuL going into Broodlords at that moment. So anyways, it was a really nice game from both sides, and Billowy really showing basically perfect late game PvZ. You can't really do better than that. And you saw ByuL, like, he was really looking for Billowy not to be perfect, but Billowy was perfect, so ByuL's like, well, I guess we attack.
Beautifully done there by Billowy. Certainly, he's going to be exhausted after that game. Let's see what happens now in game number 2. Newkirk Precinct is going to be our match, and that is loading up now. Guys, tell your friends to join us as we go into game number 2 in our second best of 3, Billowy versus ByuL in the GSL Codex. In the bottom right.
Billowy.
In the bottom left.
ByuL.
Sick epic game that last time.
This is a map where we could possibly have something like the last game, but not necessarily at all.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of times games, even though this map looks like it could have some long dramatic games, a lot of times in GSL we have short games on this map.
Yeah.
Where they're really getting in each other's faces.
I think you're quite right about that. Like, either this goes like Zerg really screws you up early on, or you know, Protoss is going to get into a massive attack. Right now, and recently, Colossus timings have been very popular on the map because Bane Hydra in general is like pretty good here. And we'll see what they go for. You never know. Like, Billowy has shown a very cool new opener in that last game. Let's not forget that he went 2 bases. Like, he was going first off a Nexus first, right, into Glaives, and then Archon drops with an actual Templar Archives before his third. So very cool, fresh stuff out of Billowy so far today.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that because that game went on for so long. Yeah, he did do a tech path of his own back there, and it worked.
He has a lot of kind of his own stuff. Like, he's a very good macro Protoss, and sometimes approaches the game in a slightly changed way that makes a lot of sense. Definitely a very important Protoss for the future of StarCraft, really.
Well, you know, when you see somebody who's like, his play makes sense, but it seems to be his own style. That's usually an indicator that the guy is probably going to be very successful in a few seasons from now. If he's not very successful this season, I mean, he did win Game 1.
Yeah. He absolutely, like, he is of the level where he can beat every single player in the world.
Yeah.
Like,
that's correct.
I watch basically every Billowy game, and I'm very impressed with how good he is, but, like, he doesn't do it when it matters yet. He's not like a Zest, right? Like, you give Zest any strategy. You give him a terrible strategy. In fact, quite often, Zest gives himself a terrible strategy and then just beats one of the best players in the world.
He's just good at what he's doing.
He's just like, I'm Zest. What do you want?
Yeah.
Billowy's not that.
Well, you know, it's funny because like a lot of the other guys that get flushed out at the round of 32, you can see they're copying what the really good players are doing, but it's not their own. It doesn't mean that you have to like play differently from somebody else, but a lot of times you'll see like, you know, like for Terrans, for instance, like whatever the last Terran that won a GSL, however he plays, all the other Terrans kind of adopt that, and are maybe just not as good as with it. That's why Ryung's game was so exciting, as it was like, what is going on?
Yeah. And I mean, hell, he got top 4 last season. And bringing something completely fresh and new. You know, when we saw him play against Stats, what do? He just went like fast Liberator range and like tried to play turtley games. Here he's like, nah, screw that. That didn't work. I'm going to do something different.
So this game, we have the Robo coming here at depth. Glaives is about halfway done. Zerg is steadily continuing to macro up, getting his 3rd base, as Zerg always want to be 1 base ahead of the Protoss in this matchup, just like they want to be like that against Terran.
I'll be truly happy if he throws down a Templar Archives Stasis. I need to see that build more than once so I can copy it and be like one of the lesser Protosses.
This is one of the best. You could be one of these guys that's never going to get out of round of 32.
Exactly.
That's all I want to do.
Never going to get into round of 32. That's all I want, Tasteless, is to beat up a few poor Zergs on the ladder.
Yeah.
Well, 3rd base.
That is actually one of the best perks of our job.
Yeah, totally.
I'm like, oh, I know the strat ahead of everybody
Make a little
else.
note. I'm like, okay.
As long as I get home fast enough from the studio, I could probably start doing this before other people have seen the VODs the next day.
I tell you what, my PBTs are going to involve an early Robo for the rest of the week right now.
And then you win your game, and you're like, God, I'm good.
Yeah. Like,
Log
wow,
off
I'm
and go
clearly better than you.
I'm clearly better and smarter than this guy. He lives in a different time zone than me. And uh-oh.
Wow.
Uh-oh, this is not good.
That's a pretty sick catch right there.
Well, this is actually a pretty big deal. He's actually going to lose all these Adepts.
Lost quite a few Adepts. Yeah. And he's actually going for a Dark Templar Dark Templar Archives, I was going to call it behind. But just, it looks like probably an Archon drop after the third base.
And so this is why we were confused in game one is a lot of times traditionally people would look at the Dark Templar Archives and be like, oh, DTs.
Yeah.
But actually it's because you can get Archons quickly. They don't cost as much gas as if you had to use High Templars.
It's neat that he's doing this, by the way, because the Archon drop is so figured out by Zerg. Like, Zerg knows exactly what to do that you don't do any damage with it for the most part right now, as long as Zerg is willing to stay in their base and make some roaches. But he's adding it in a bit later. It's kind of like what we've seen in the past so many times throughout StarCraft 1 and 2, where it's like, oh, what if I just Reaver drop a little bit later or something like that, or what if I just go for a Cloaked Banshee a little bit later. These are times where your opponent isn't as ready. It's still, this is great tech to have. It's a strong harass. So really neat stuff coming out of Billowy.
Uh-oh. Oh, my God.
Ooh,
I'm not even casting this. I'm just like reacting to what I see. I'm like, oh my God. Oh, no.
Oh, Adepts died again.
You can tell I'm a Protoss player. I'm like, oh, that's too many Adepts. You can't lose that many.
Yeah,
it doesn't look like so far Billowy has been, not to be too critical, but like as solid with what he's been trying to do.
Yeah, his harassment hasn't done it this game.
Then again, he did lose those Archons in the Warp Prism, now that I think about it.
Yeah, that is true. And ByuL is defending very well. We definitely have to give some credit where credit is due. He's stopped all of this Adept shenanigans and hasn't really taken economic damage, which is actually allowing him to get into Bane Hydra very cleanly. We haven't seen a single roach, so like he's getting right into that very nice composition. And Billowy, though, I do have to say, this is something we don't see from a lot of Pro Protosses right now, storm this quick. And the fact that he's getting it this quick makes it so that the Bane Hydra is going to have a lot harder time breaking him. Well, that's a lot of Lings.
That is. Looks like he's got a good block, though. Lings bouncing right out of there. No, I really like what Billowy's showing us, because this is like a really clean... This is like the opposite of what Ryung was doing. And that's not to say that Billowy can't do crazy all-in strats or that Ryung doesn't play
He wouldn't be
games.
a Protoss if he couldn't do crazy all-in strats.
That's true. You have to have that in your toolkit as Protoss. Okay. This is like definitely a build, for those of you guys who are laddering, that you should try out. Same as... like game one. Like if you want to play a standard game and the other guy is going to try to be like running into you and trying to kill you off and you kind of survive everything and feel good about yourself, this is the build you want to copy.
The Hydra upgrade, as well as Bane Speed and +2 is about to be done. So now they're going to one-shot probes as well, those Banelings. Really good stuff. This is only one Archon in this army, so that's not enough to suck up as many Banes as ByuL can make right now. Baneling drop going to be coming in as well, maybe going on top of that army. ByuL has a chance to kill him right now. This is a deadly timing. This is one of the harder things to stop. If you don't do damage to Zerg early on, they go Bane Hydra, and it is so hard, that first attack.
So we are getting close to the climax here. Note he's continuing to poke in here. This may slow him down, though. The fact that there's an Adept harass over here, the Zerg may have to choose to go back and deal with this, and that's going to give Billowy a lot more time. So
you called that, Tasis. He's going back right now.
Yeah. So the way this strategy is engineered here by ByuL is that while Billowy's trying to gradually get everything, ByuL is not really. ByuL's actually almost maxed out and is ready to pounce on his opponent. But time is everything with a strategy like this. So if you don't have enough, if you don't hit them at the right moment, eventually Protoss ends up ahead. But if you can get in there and not even kill him, but do some really crippling damage, you might be able to close the game out from there. But yeah, he was pulled back. Well, that's don't drop behind the mineral patches. Not that he meant to do that, but that would have been a lot more effective had that been on the other side there.
Yeah, those Bane's one-shot probes now, so you definitely would have gotten more than like nothing done. Infestation Pit on the way. ByuL's still having like very strong map control, but Billowy's taking another base and is kind of turtled up. He's got a good amount of Psy Storm in here.
Sorry, Artosis, I couldn't cast for a minute. I had to blow my nose.
No, that's okay.
My allergies, guys.
I heard it.
I'm allergic to great games.
Well, you shouldn't be a StarCraft 2 caster again.
Does anyone else think you shouldn't cast StarCraft 2 if he's allergic to great games? Okay, this is a great connect. 9 probes, and these probes actually have nowhere to go. It looks like he got 18 probes. We didn't get it on camera, but he got virtually all the probes.
Yeah, he wiped that probe line very well. That wasn't that expensive for him. He's going up to a 5th base right now as well. Nice storms going down. ByuL going to have to pull back for a moment.
You can see these Immortals are not particularly useful
Yeah.
In this moment against the Hydras and the Lings.
They are not super good against the Bane Hydra. They're not terrible, but...
Well, he's just got Hydras now. If he gets some good storms off here.
Oh, more Banelings rolling in, and the shields are off the Immortals, so he can actually connect with these.
Woo! He's trying to back up.
Some of them, at least.
I think that Zerg just barely has enough. So there's one Immortal being made, but there's about 36 Zerglings that just hatched, so he should be able to snowball over his opponent here. And unfortunately, even though the Immortals aren't handy back there, they have a lot of utility later on in the game. So losing all that, that's going to be it. GG.
All right.
ByuL wins game 2.
So, yeah, that was actually a really good showcase of why on this map in particular we see a lot of Colossus timings. Because this attack, if you don't do damage to Zerg early on with your Adept pressure and they go into Bane Hydra, it's quite hard with, like, quote-unquote normal Protoss builds to hold on. As you see, they just get so many Lings, so many Banes, and there's like a huge amount of surface area to attack. And Billowy just kind of gets rolled over. So ByuL definitely very well prepared to punish him on this map.
I think that was a good adaptation there by ByuL. I don't know if that was directly a response from game 1, but it certainly seemed to be. If it was a very good response because he played outside of going into late game. He just set up for a fatal blow and went up there and killed Billowy.
And it wasn't even really a super all-in. Like, if it gets wrecked, of course you're in trouble, but he has like 5 bases behind, right? So it's a pretty solid unit comp overall if you haven't taken damage. And well done by ByuL. Will Billowy be able to take it back? Abyssal Reef, our next map.
Let's do this. It's game number 3. Billowy versus ByuL in a fight to go to the winner's match, day 2 of the GSL Codex. In the bottom right, in the blue, he is
Billowy.
in the upper left, in the red, he is
ByuL.
I want to take Billowy's glasses and put them on ByuL and call him Billowy.
Actually, for the 2 IDs, this is actually kind of messing up my brain to try to cast them because ByuL and Billowy, similar enough in the way they sound. Okay. Going into this game, it's definitely a map where both players could do like a timing to each other. It's actually kind of easy to push into third bases here. And there's also like a little bit of ambiguity about like which third base you want to take.
That's true.
It kind of depends. It's not clear and cut out like a lot of other maps. Thanks for coming down, guys. Hope you're enjoying the games.
Oh, they are today.
Oh, they
the
are
games today are amazing. Oh, my God. They are so lucky. Oh, I wish I was
We've actually had some really good games today.
Yeah, yeah.
And they've all been quite different. Yeah, exactly.
Huge variety of games. I hope it continues.
It will, Artosis.
Okay.
Fear not, Artosis.
Even if it goes back to completely standard normal games from here, that gives us a great variety because we've had none of those, really. ByuL did open with the gas and pool first. Don't know if he's going to try to do something crazy with that. We'll see coming up. Ling's just kind of scouting around. Important to note, he hasn't started speed. Okay, just starts now. Sometimes if you skip speed with that, it can mean something crazy like a Nidus or some sort of Roach Ravager attack, but looks like he's kind of normalizing the build.
Okay, Ling going to come in here, try to do a little bit of scouting. Is Billowy going to play kind of a standard game here, or is he going to do anything crazy, Artosis? Because so far he seems to be the guy that wants to be like the virtuous Protoss player.
Yeah, that's generally speaking, that's his playstyle. Like, he'll have a couple little tweaks to existing strategies and build orders, but overall he is a macro Protoss. Like, he wants to just kind of get the right set of units and end up killing you. Now, he could throw ByuL off by doing something crazy all in, but I would imagine he is going to continue down this line because it is where his strengths lie.
Do you notice how prideful macro players are in RTS games?
Yeah, because we're actually good and Russians are evil.
We make Tempest at the end of the game and tuck our shirts in. Like,
yeah. We eat Zerg units from the outside in.
So, yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to see if Billowy does that again in this game. You know, to win a best of 3 or a best of 5 or a best of 7, or to get out of a group, you normally have to play a bunch of different approaches in a game, because once you get 2 mapped out, then it's kind of like Hydra, where everybody just sort of knows how you play and just kind of cheeses you or plays around whatever you're doing.
He might be doing that this time. He's getting a robo off of just like 3 gates, and a lot of times that kind of points towards an Immortal Sentry Adept push.
Yeah, let's see if he makes a Warp Prism first, or what exactly the opener is going to be, because that can usually be a good indicator. Then again, sometimes they get a Warp Prism and it's like a really modest harass as well.
Yeah, yeah, that definitely can be. Like, if you just fly around with the Warp Prism, they have to be afraid of all-ins. But I like how ByuL is doing this. He's making a big plume of Lings here and getting +1 melee, so that's going to help him out just overall defending, and he can put a lot of pressure on this third, possibly get a cancel, because, well, there is the Mothership Core, but Pylon not done. I guess the Lings are not close enough at the moment.
Ling's now looping back around, just trying to survey what exactly Protoss is doing. He did see that there's a third base on the way, so he's probably not too worried. In fact, if I was ByuL, I'd probably be assuming that it's going to be, not because it wasn't the same builds the last 2 games, but it was kind of the same idea. You know? Do a little bit of Adept Archon harass.
Yeah.
Tech up to Storm. Eventually get Protoss air units.
Well, here comes probably a little bit of harass. Not sure how much he'll get done because there is a good amount of Lings, but well, if you shade him behind the minerals, crazy things can occur. Ling's just going to follow these down, though. I think that Billowy is, again, not really going to have any damage done to ByuL, and I would imagine that ByuL will from here go into a Hydralisk Den and Banelings, but we'll see.
What do you think about him not mining the gas here? I guess he does have an excess of gas right now, but it's kind of interesting to see those 2 simulators not mining from just yet. He did put probes on it as I was saying that, but wasn't immediately mining from it.
Yeah, maybe just a small mistake or something. Macro Hatch on the way from ByuL. We'll see what tech he's going to go for now as that layer has finished up. It's ByuL, so it's most likely going to be a Hydralisk Den or a Spire. If this was Solar, I would not be surprised to see an Infestation Pit. It is the Spire that's going to be coming up. So this is kind of like the funny thing about ByuL is he goes Spire more than every other top-end Zerg.
Yeah.
Like, no one is anywhere near his Spire counts. Like, he just he wants Mutas so badly. That's his favorite unit.
He wants to pick a fight.
Yeah.
ByuL is definitely a guy who wants to, like you were just saying, Solar. Solar's somebody who wants to, like, win by casting spells.
Sure.
You know what I mean? He wants to get the really good fungals off, and
he wants to play like a smart game and trick you out.
Yeah.
Not in like a tricky sense.
It's like a win with finesse.
Yeah.
Whereas it seems like ByuL wants to actually have a brawl on the map.
Well, he definitely wants to out-macro you and stuff. And
yeah.
He will. It's just, will he have the right unit composition?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, Baneling Nest is coming up. He did get the Hydralisk Den as well. Taking that 4th base, and the Spire is going to be finishing. The anti-air for Billowy is nearly non-existent. He's adding cannons into each line, so that's just kind of a safety precaution, a safety check. But if ByuL actually goes kind of heavy on the mutas here, you know, he gets 7-8 mutas, a single cannon is not going to protect your probes that well.
Okay. Weapons almost done here for Protoss. Storm's on the way. It's been kind of a dramatic series with these 2.
Yeah.
These guys make for some great long games.
Certainly.
I wouldn't mind seeing these guys face off again, like later on if we can get that, you know?
We could actually. If Billowy wins this, I wouldn't be completely surprised if Ryung was able to take him out, like with the strategies he's shown today.
Sure.
Who knows? I don't hold out too much hope for Ryung beating ByuL just because of how ridiculously one-sided that last series where they met was.
Yeah, that, and I think that, oh, hold up, we have Lings coming in here. All right, not enough to get into, for him to be worried. I thought he might try to get a surround on those Immortals.
A little group of Lings in here, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Just warping a few units to deal with those. Baneling speed as well as Hydralisk upgrades on the way. The 5th base is actually coming up for ByuL, and he does have some mutas out now. So that's a nice little group of mutas to go harass with. And Billowy still just kind of playing very slowly. We've seen no actual pressure from him this game, really at all.
Yeah. The mutas are coming down now. Yeah, this has been a super passive game here from ByuL. I mean, he's like flirted with the idea of trying to drop here, but it seems like ByuL's basically ready. Now, with the mutas down here going into the main, maybe this Warp Prism's going to do something. There's certainly enough cannons here that this is not exactly great for what ByuL is trying to do. A lot of Protosses neglect cannons, so sometimes we see the mutas do a lot more damage, but I guess if you're against ByuL, you should always get cannons because he's always going to get mutas.
Pretty much. He's very much into mutas. For him, mutas are like the new black, I guess. Now, you know what Billowy's actually doing here, I think? He's trying to get a critical mass of like a good enough army that you don't die to anything, and he might go into air again from that, because this is a base. This is a map where you get like 5. Yeah, there's a Stargate. You get like 5 bases almost for free once you have a high enough supply. They're just so close, you can kind of defend everything. So,
by the way, Artosis, Zerg's doing basically the same thing we saw in the last game. He's setting up. He wants to do a killing blow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a horrible engage there with those Banelings. So it's one of the things to watch for is how do the Banelings connect? Because that's really the poison in the build here, is to see like how much you can hit. Okay, here we go. Now he's got to bait out the storms.
Some of these actually getting in there. The Archon taking some hits at the front, so that's nice. But some good connections as
what
well.
Have I seen?
Oh god, he's definitely taking out this 4th base of Billowy.
Yeah, it's working. He's coming through. Again, I think he's actually hemorrhaging maybe too many Banelings here, but it might not matter. It's actually the Hydras right now that have more muscle against what he's up against.
The Banelings will be picked off at this point, and he can finally push everything back. ByuL's still kind of remacroing here on Hydra Bane.
Yeah,
he can go hit that again.
Exactly. That's one of the strengths of this build is when you're remaking the units. The only thing that you're not going to have as much of from the time before is the Banelings, but you're definitely going to have like a lot of muscle to follow this up with. He's making some of those Banelings. Like I said, not as much as before, but the Protoss army's pretty much thinned out.
Yeah, this
sometimes
army
it ends up with just Templars and Immortals at the end of that.
This army is not that good against what he's fighting. He has 7 High Templars, so these are going to have to storm. He doesn't have the energy quite yet. That's a really big issue. If ByuL can actually hit this like right this second, if he goes right now, he might just straight win the game.
Oh, gosh. I don't know about these Baneling engages up here. It just seems like Protoss is ready. I don't blame him for trying, but he does seem to be prepared for this.
Oh, look at these mutas. They're actually going after the High Templars. There's only a single Archon here. He's having to use Storms as well. That's a really good move by ByuL.
Yeah, and what that's doing is it's milking out a lot of the energy there from the Templars, and then the real follow-up attack is going to be this. ByuL seems to want to get a few more Banelings up here. Now, this angle, by the way, it's kind of a funnel or a filter. Or a valley.
And look, he forces all the storms out. That is the rest of the storms, which means the Ling Bane that comes down now has to be stopped by this army. Archons are good against this, but not these Immortals.
Okay, he's coming down. If he can wipe this base out, he might actually just... Okay, he pounces on the Nexus and backs out. Now, you might want to rinse and repeat here as Zerg, and I think that's what he's doing. He made about 50 Zerglings, and there's 8 Hydras coming up.
Yeah, and he has a hive. He has 90 drones. 90 drones right now. ByuL is macroing out of control. He's going into Greater Spire. There's a Stargate, but no actual anti-Broodlord tech here for Billowy. So this is not getting better for him. This is getting worse.
Yeah, he's going to try to steamroll him again while slowly teching into Broodlords. What's happening is Protoss has to get a 4th base. This is not a strat where he needs to run over everything that Protoss has. He just needs to continuously wipe out the 4th base. And Protoss wanted to play a much longer game, probably take a 5th and a 6th base eventually. ByuL is not playing that game, and if Billowy is not able to respect the rules that ByuL has set up, he's going to lose this game.
Some good splitting coming on as well. Ooh, nice connection. Like, oh man, this army is just not made to stop what ByuL has. Oh god, a lot of Lings and Banes getting all over this.
A lot more Templars coming up here. Now he's backing up as more Lings are rallying down here. Basically, once the Lings and Banelings disappear, the Hydras have to run for it.
And the thing is, he keeps on thinning out this army enough that when these Broodlords come, that's it. This army does not deal with Broodlords. He's still making Immortals against someone who's making Corruptors for Broodlords.
Yeah, 2
which
at a
shows
time.
you, this is just not the right unit set for him. Even with Psystorm and Stalkers in there, I don't think he has Blink. I don't remember seeing him make Blink, so ByuL has done this just right. He didn't have to trade perfectly efficiently this whole time. He has so many bases and drones, and this is the counterattack right there.
Yeah, this is the finishing blow. A lot of times it doesn't end up to this point because Protoss is run over, but Billowy seems to be holding us. I think some of this is due to the location of this base. If you can like surround from all sides in expansion, storms don't do anywhere near as much.
Yeah.
But the Billowy's basically remade the base. He's hanging on. But when these Broodlords push forward, I mean, what are these Immortals going to do? There's nothing.
Shoot at Broodlings.
Yeah, they're going to shoot at Broodlings. I'm not sure who wins that fight. No, it should be a pretty straightforward closer for the Zerg.
This army, there's no way to engage these Broodlords. You just sit this stuff under it. Queen's even coming for those transfusions.
Now let's keep in mind that last time ByuL did not split his Broodlords very well against Storm. So
that's true. There's just so little that shoots up here, nothing with real mobility. Oh, God, losing a lot of High Templars, trying to get up there to Storm. Truly, he needs the Storms against the Lings, Banes, and Hydras as well. So
we're going to see a lot of stuff flying up here.
Oh, boy.
For Zerg. He's going to come down here. I believe this should be game. There's just nothing that he can really do. There's not even really, yeah, there it is. GG! ByuL manages to come back and win 2-1. He will move on to the winner's match against Ryung.
Yeah, so Billowy just not keeping any real pressure on ByuL here, sitting back, letting ByuL get up to that Bane Ling Hydra, which is really, really powerful in these situations. And ByuL, like, that was his macro, like his timing on his expansions, getting 90 drones, that many hatches, just constantly trading while slowly but surely teching a Broods. This was, like, perfectly done by ByuL. This was an amazingly well done game.
Very nicely done. Again, Billowy, just like we saw, I think it was a previous season of GSL Codes, he looked really good, but it wasn't enough to get out of round of 32.
Yeah.
So,
hey, 1-2 against ByuL. Can't hate yourself for that.
We're going to go to a short break. We come back. We're going to have the match that will decide who moves on first to the round of 16 in the GSL Codes.